You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
The first off-season edition of the Minor League Baseball podcast has arrived in 2017. What on earth? How? In what way?
That's just the way things go. This is like one of those weird times where there really isn't minor league baseball things going on.
Yeah.
There's instructs, which, if you talk to anybody in baseball, they're all involved in instructs right now. It's not exactly something we're going to be talking about too much unless we get some info on what happens down there in Florida and Arizona. I know Red Sox and I think maybe the Twins have both kind of curbed their instructs because of hurricane-related issues. So not a heck of a lot going on right now. But, that just means we have more time to review the season that was.
We do, and we're going to do that here coming up in just a little bit with the second-ranked prospect in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, Jon Duplantier, who will join us from Phoenix, and we'll tell you why that is as soon as we talk to Jon coming up here in just a little bit. But before we dive into episode number 129 of the Show Before the Show, big thanks to you for tuning in wherever you found us. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are now on Google Play. We're on the Stitcher app as well. You can give us a rating and a review and a subscription and all those fun places, and you can find all past episodes and everything there and at MILB.com/podcast. And we'll be with you all off season. Like we were saying last week, we're not going anywhere just because the minor league season has wound down. We'll be here with you through the doldrums of the pre-AFL days and then the doldrums of the post-AFL pre-spring training days. And we'll be here. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah, there'll still be plenty to talk about even then. It'll be more preview stuff. That's the thing about doing this job for a couple of years. You kind of realize, oh man, what are we going to do? And then it fills up just naturally.
Very naturally and very quickly.
Winter meetings, trades, whatever happens. Rule 5 draft. Rule 5 draft eligibility, all that kind of stuff. It fills up much faster than you expect.
It does. So we'll get started. We're going to recap a bunch of the 2017 season. Sam and I were going over some different ways to try to encapsulate what happened this year, and Sam had this idea to go through our very own all-star teams for the 2017 season. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go all 9 positions, all 8 field positions, 1 utility/DH player, 1 starting pitcher, 1 relief pitcher. And that's and these are all binding. This is all this is the biggest honor of your careers for those of you that we know, obviously.
Yeah, we won't even publish this anywhere. You'll need to hear your own name.
Right.
How often does that happen?
Right, exactly.
This is kind of inspired. Other places do this. Like, we're not the first to do this, but like this, we're the first time we're doing it on the podcast. Doing our All-MiLB teams.
All-MiLB
How do you
teams?
want to call this?
Yeah, let's call it the All-MiLB teams.
Yeah.
All-MILB.com teams. I like it.
There we go. Yeah. We'll have to come up with stats, or like the stats department, to make that a designation on somebody's player page.
Yeah, I like that.
Just sneak that on there.
I like it. Name to podcast all MILB teams. So before we get started, there's a good chance that we'll double up on some of these guys. Sam and I have only talked about very few guys that we have just to see who we had where, but we have not gone over every position, so there is a chance that we're going to double up on some guys over the course of these teams. And I would imagine that the first guy is probably one of those, as we'll get started with catcher on this inaugural edition of our All-MiLB teams. And I went with Francisco Mejia, which I'm assuming you did too.
I did not.
Hey, fantastic. Then we're starting off on the right foot. Francisco Mejia, this year, the Cleveland Indians prospect. Last year, of course, we remember the 50-game hitting streak. This year, goes up to Double-A Akron, holds his own very well there. 297, 346, 490 the slash line, but did really well defensively, too. A 991 fielding percentage as a catcher, threw out 30% of potential base stealers. He is my pick. Sam, your pick. We're off on a strong foot.
Yeah, mine is Danny Jansen. In the Toronto Blue Jays system, who just hit everywhere he went this year. A guy who had experienced some injuries in the past. He was a 16th round pick in 2013. Hit 218 last year between Class A advanced Dunedin and rehab stint at rookie level Blue Bluefield. This year climbed 3 different levels, played 104 games, so that's the first time he played more than 57 in a season yet as a pro. Hit 323 with a 400 on base percentage, 484 slugging, 10 home runs, only struck out 40 times in 104 games, walked more than that, actually walked 41 times. Really became an all-around offensive player. Not necessarily, isn't a well-rounded prospect in terms of, he's not a great defensive catcher necessarily quite yet. He can certainly be average there. But the way he kind of popped this year after a guy who had never hit higher than, 282 at any level before this, and then hit 369 in Dunedin, 291 at New Hampshire, and 328 at Buffalo. Really climbed the ladder. He isn't going to topple Mejia or Carson Kelly as, the top catching prospect in the game quite yet. One season's not going to do that. But, as far as having, I think, the best season by a minor league catcher this year, Danny Jansen's my pick.
Okay.
We'll move on to first base. I think there's probably going to be some agreement on this one. So I'm going to say Christian Walker. Where do you stand?
I'm going to go Rhys Hoskins, but Christian Walker was the other one that I had on the board. He was kind of my the guy who went down to the finals. I went Rhys Hoskins, but Christian Walker, fantastic season.
Yeah, Christian Walker led all of minor league baseball in extra base hits, led in RBIs. We talked about him. Loyal listeners will remember he was my pick to win the Bowman Award the last couple of weeks. We kind of handicapped that, and then AJ Reed went on a tear in the last couple of weeks to take it. But finished with 32 home runs, 9 triples, 34 doubles, 114 RBIs in 133 games. I'm not saying RBIs is necessarily something we should always measure performance on, but that kind of sticks out to just how important he was in that Reno lineup. Hit 309, 382, 597. Was his slash line, which worked out to a 980 OPS. Just crazy numbers. Obviously, he's going to get a bounce from being in Reno, and that certainly worked out in his favor this year. He had an OPS of 1.109 at home compared to 845 on the road. But even when taking all of that into account, it was still a crazy season for Christian Walker. Certainly put him back on the map after he'd kind of fallen off it after a couple of years in the Orioles system. So this is being his first year with the D-backs, a really strong first step. So that's Walker, but why Hoskins? Outside of major league stuff.
Right, exactly. It was just a well-rounded season for him. He's going to get all the headlines for what he's done at the major league level, and that's obviously duly deserved. But AAA Lehigh Valley, season long, 115 games, 284, 385, 581 the slash line, 29 homers there. The thing I really liked, he got better as the season went along after struggling in July. He was good in April, May, and June. Great in April, kind of started to tail off, but then bounced back really strong toward the end of July and the beginning of August. That's what netted him that promotion to the big leagues. And I like, again, we're not basing this on what a guy has done in the major leagues, but I like finishing off on a strong note at the minor league level and then being able to carry that over once you get promoted and do the historic things that he's done in the major league level so far is just kind of justifies the strong season in AAA for Rhys Hoskins. Second base, I went with Garrett Hampson of the Lancaster Jethawks in the California League, who was sort of overshadowed by Brendan Rodgers for the first half of the year, and then I think probably flew under the radar elsewhere, but he was my pick, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Who'd you go with?
I went with Scott Kingery. It's kind of funny because I feel like we kind of lost momentum with him by the end of the year just because we had talked him up so much at the beginning of the year, the way he popped with his power and how we weren't expecting that. And, even he said he wasn't expecting that for a while, but he ended up with 26 home runs this year between AA and AAA, add in 29 steals. He said on this podcast earlier this year from the Futures game, he's not going to lose the moniker of Scotty Jetpacks anytime soon. Adding that power just really rounds out his offensive capabilities. Showed off everything else as well. 304 average, 530 slugging, 889 OPS. This is not a guy who took advantage of Reading or only took advantage of Reading. He hit once he got to Lehigh Valley, hit 294 there with 8 home runs and 10 steals. So he might be the most exciting second base prospect in the game right now. That might be kind of damning with praise. Normally we don't think of really, really good second base prospects. They're usually shortstops who move over to second. But with the way he's added power, the way he continues to have a really solid hit tool, and as quick as he is, he could steal 30 bases, at the upper levels working into the majors. So Kingery really popped for me this year, but I want to hear about why you chose Hampson over him.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, just a really well-rounded season for a guy who, for the first half of the year, Brendan Rodgers is there, top prospect in the Colorado system, and is blowing up, bats 400 for the first half of the season. But, Garrett Hampson was right behind him, and I really liked the double play tandem those two formed together. And the other thing that I liked is that Hampson really did not have a lull. July, a bit of a struggle, but he, for the most part, the OPS was consistent. The average was fairly consistent throughout. And then he finished on a tear. He batted 375, 421, 563 in August. But just all facets of the game seemed to come together. Overall slash line 326, 387, 462. The sneaky thing about Garrett Hampson, as it was with a lot of guys on that Lancaster roster, he stole 36 bases in 40 attempts. That team ran a ton. They were successful the vast majority of the time, it seemed like. So just a really, really good player. I think he will still fly under a lot of people's radar, and he is kind of the case of a guy who he played a lot of shortstop as well, shortstop turned second baseman, like you noted, Sam. But I really liked his campaign, and he's a fun guy to watch. I've had an eye on him for a while as a Long Beach State product, which has produced so much good middle infield talent, but really showed why he's got a pretty high ceiling this year.
Yeah, and one thing I always notice on Twitter is whenever we tweet about a Long Beach State person, just all of Long Beach State Twitter is very active and gets very excited. So hopefully they pick up on this podcast when we get the Long Beach bump, I guess, as it were. Shortstop, should we just count to three and say it at the same time?
How do you know that we went the same way?
Okay, I want to hear who you have then, because I feel like yours is going to be more contrarian than mine is.
No, I think we'll probably count to three and say the same thing. Okay,
all
ready? One, two, three.
Bo
Bichette!
All right, Jinx. I would say
Fernando Tatis Jr. was my other guy. Your prospect crush is on Ronald Acuna. I think mine is on Fernando Tatis Jr. now. I loved him. He was my secondary selection. But Bo Bichette he is fun, and it's a historic season.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Baseball America might have pushed Bichette over to second base. He got some time there, but they put him at second just so they could get Tatis in at short. They're both very deserving guys. I just can't shrug off a 362 average for a season. Like, the guy hit 384 over Lansing and won the Midwest League batting title despite not being there after the Futures game because he was so far ahead. Rule 922A, as we discussed before, just allowed him to win a Midwest League batting title when it wasn't even close to anybody else in that league. But not only that, hit 14 homers, stole 22 bases, 4 triples, 41 doubles, which is kind of crazy. As much as we like to talk about this guy, again, by the end of the year, you kind of get fatigued with him because you just keep bringing him up. But he was a second-round pick last year. 66th overall, 65 teams. There were 65 players picked in front of him. There were concerns about him coming into the season. Now he's 19. He felt like the senior member of the Bash Brothers for the guy we're probably going to talk about at third base. But lots of teams had a chance to take this guy, and the way he's taken off, now the number 26 overall prospect in the game, is kind of crazy. So. Yeah, this felt like a year of Bichette, and I can't wait to see what happens with him going forward. Because if this is what happens when he answers questions, okay, now we have more questions. What is he going to do to answer those? Or is this just going to be the 1 year in which he really popped, and then teams learn about him and make adjustments? So, but yeah, no doubt that you can't just slag off a 362 average like that. As much as we want to look at everything else, he was just too good to be overlooked in this spot.
I agree. I think that pretty well covers it. Third base, we're not going to be in agreement if the selection on your side is who you alluded to in that answer. Who are you going with?
So mine is Vlad Jr.
Okay. I figured we would end up talking about Vlad anyway, so I did not pick him, but I like it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think there's arguments to be made elsewhere, and I'll hold off on who my number 2 guy was until hearing who you said. But Vlad led minor league baseball this year, at least minor league full season guys, with a 425 on base percentage this year, 13 homers, 910 OPS. Again, doing the same thing that Bichette did, half the year at Lansing, half the year at Class A Advanced Dunedin. He got even better at Dunedin than he was at Lansing. Bichette regressed a little, which is fine. That's what you expect, especially going to the FSL, which is a pitcher's league. He actually got better. He hit 333 with a 450 on base percentage over 168 at bats, 48 games with the Dunedin Blue Jays, which is just crazy. That means, again, he's learning. He's taking things in. He's learning about pitchers, how to attack them, how to be patient, all that kind of thing. It still blows my mind that he's walked 76 times and only struck out 62 times this year. You don't see that almost among anybody not named Joey Votto.
Yeah.
To see that, for a kid who is still 18, he's not turning 19 until next March, is just mind-boggling to me. That's not the only reason why I put him here. This is not like an all-prospect list or anything like that. I legitimately think Vlad had the best season amongst the third baseman this year in the minors. But I'm willing to be swayed. So who do you have, Tyler?
You know what else is funny, too, is you kind of think back on Vlad Guerrero Sr., and especially late in his career, you just felt like, oh, he's the guy who swings at everything. Vlad Guerrero, he's hitting balls that bounce, and he's hitting them out for home runs. And he had that home run in the All-Star game in Pittsburgh in which he hit a ball that was basically at his shoulders. Vlad Guerrero Sr., in his career, struck out 985 times. He walked 737 times. That's a pretty damn impressive ratio. So that's something that carries over.
Yeah, the thing that Vlad Sr. always had that I think we forget is that everybody thinks like, oh yeah, he used to swing at shoes at it or pitches at his shoe tops. He would make contact on those.
Right.
The guy may have had one of the best hand-eye coordinations I've ever seen. He decided, yes, I'm going to swing at things because I know I can make contact with. He's not like a free swinger now, with the grip and rip and get it in the air and see what happens. And if you strike out 30% of the time, but also hit 35 home runs, it doesn't matter. He was trying to make contact with all those swings. Right. And he was making loud contact and all that kind of stuff. Vlad Jr. is a different player. He's more patient. Yeah. He's only going to swing when it's in the zone where he can drive it. Maybe the day comes when he decides to get more aggressive, but if it's going to work out the way it has, Blue Jays aren't going to touch it. They're going to say, listen, look for your pitch. When you get it, hit it, rip it, do that whole thing. Don't swing at unnecessary pitches and do what works for you, because obviously – it's worked extremely well so far.
Blue Jays fans, it was toward the end of the year. It's been rough, but there is a lot to be excited about in that system. If you like big, massive home runs, you're going to have a whole lot of fun watching those two guys continue to climb. At third base, I went Nick Senzel of the Cincinnati Reds. He 62 games Class A advanced and then 57 games at Double A, and he got better after graduating from Daytona when he went up to Pensacola. Slash line in the Florida State League was 305, 371, 476. In Double A, 340, 413, 560. And he's in the Southern League. He's hitting in Pensacola. It's not like he's, jumped to a launching pad. So really impressive. And sometimes you see, guys who are destined to be very good major league hitters, they get better as they climb the ladder in the minor leagues. I'll never forget that about Jason Hayward. Jason Hayward, the first team I ever worked on in the minor leagues, he was there. You could see the tools were there. You could see that he was going to be successful, but he didn't really blow you away with the numbers when he was getting things started in his minor league career at the Class A advanced level. Then jumps up a level and all of a sudden blows up with Double-A Mississippi that year. That is a case of guys who sometimes are so advanced when they get to a place where pitchers are working more around the zone, then they start having more success because you're not having to waste swings going after stuff because somebody's not going to come into the strike zone with you, etc. Hayward, for example, that year, 296 average and an 888 OPS at Class A Advanced, 47 games then up at Double-A, 352 average, 1057 OPS. Obviously, he has turned into a ghost offensively at the major league level, but that's neither here nor there. But Nick Senzel, really, really impressive season, and the guys who get better as they climb the ladder are always guys who really impress me.
Yeah, and the thing about Senzel for me this year was I thought he had the chance to, after 2016, Dansby Swanson and Andrew Benintendi both climbed to the majors in their first full seasons. I thought Senzel had that potential. He certainly showed it by the end. But what I think he had different about himself than those other two guys, Senzel just seemed like a safe pick at number 2 overall coming out of Tennessee when he was taken by the Reds in 2016. He seemed like a safe pick. Like, he's going to be a decent hitter. Probably something like 280, 290, something like that. He's going to hold himself well at third base, do everything you want. Not necessarily pop but he'll be a solid cornerstone, on which you can build your team. Now he's more than that. I mean, there's no denying it. He might be one of the best pure hitters in all of minor league baseball right now. He showed plenty of pop, 14 homers, 40 doubles. Those doubles will translate into homers. Now we're talking about a guy who could potentially hit 310, with an OBP that's going to be flirting around 400, potentially 20 homers. I mean, now we're talking like consistent all-star level, not just good, solid contributor. He's done certainly more than that. And with the way he, like you said, built up to that, that's going to build up a lot of offseason momentum in terms of the way we look at him. The more we study him, the more, the taste he left in our mouths is much better than what it had been necessarily at Daytona, which was obviously solid. But yeah, he certainly worked himself into that conversation as having one of the better offensive seasons, third baseman or anybody really.
One of the things that I love most about coming into this episode today is Sam and I each showed our biases in what markets we grew up in, because Sam said, well, I picked a DH, and I said, oh, well, I picked a utility guy. So it's pretty much the same thing. You're just an American League guy. I'm a National League guy. I went with Ryan McMahon of the Hartford Yard Goats / Albuquerque Isotopes / now currently Colorado Rockies. Really struggled in Double-A last year, goes back, conquers that level, 326 average, 926 OPS, and then goes up to Triple-A and explodes. Ryan McMahon in 70 games up with AAA Albuquerque batted .374. Yes, offensively friendly environment, offensive friendly league, but a .374 average, a .1023 OPS. He played 37 games at home and he batted .416 with an 1150 OPS. And that's where you start thinking, oh my goodness, look at those numbers. It's like Coors Light down there, blah, blah, blah. On the road, batted .329 with an .886 OPS. The pop was still there. 6 homers away from home, 8 at home in Albuquerque, but just across the board, it was like you could not get Ryan McMahon out. Every night, it seemed like it was a 3-hit, 4-hit, 5-hit night for Ryan McMahon. And not only that, but he plays a bunch of different positions now. Everybody loves versatility. That's something that he has really, really embraced. Played first base, third base, his natural position. He's even worked in at second base nowadays, so he was my guy there.
Yeah, that's funny that you call him utility man. I would have called him DH. Obviously that speaks to what you mentioned, like our upbringing. But yeah, the fact that if you were to actually build a lineup here in terms of how you're going to put these guys together, and you weren't allowed the DH, I think you would take McMahon just because you were going to be able to plug him into that infield almost anywhere. Whether he'll be able to stick at second or first or third or whatever going forward, that's a conversation we can have a different day. But for something like this, him in the utility spot is kind of perfect. That's why I kind of think like my pick for DH is also kind of perfect. My pick is Willie Calhoun.
Yeah.
Who is almost the perfect designated hitter. We don't know what he's going to be defensively. Not because like McMahon, he's a utility guy. He played second base, in the Dodgers system almost out of necessity. He doesn't have exactly the best hands, the best range for that position, but that's what he had played before. That's where he was comfortable. Moves to the Rangers, moves to the outfield, moves to left field. That's fine. He can handle himself there. His arm isn't asked too much. But looking at him going forward, it's probably good that he went to the Rangers because now the DH is a possibility. But defensive stuff aside, he just had such a killer year this year. He was 6th in total bases in the minor leagues. Like Tyler said about McMahon, McMahon played in the PCL half the year. Calhoun played there all year. So we will give a little bit of an asterisk for that. But, 31 home runs. That was tied for 5th most in the minors this year. 27 doubles on top of that, 3 triples on top of that. Hit an even 300 with a 355 OBP, 572 slugging percentage. What really strikes out to me is I'm looking at the leaderboard for home runs right now. All of these guys, except for Austin Hayes, amongst like the top 10, all struck out more than 100 times. Except for Calhoun, he only struck out 61 times in 128 games.
That is really impressive.
Which is not at all the narrative you're hearing now, for power guys. It's if they're going to be swinging for the fences, they're going to be doing it all the time. They're going to get plenty of swings and misses, like I said earlier. He's not that type of player, which is fascinating. I feel like if you could combine him and Joey Gallo, that would be the perfect DH for the Rangers. They have both of them, how they're going to make that work is going to be interesting going into next spring training. But both of them are in that organization. Calhoun is kind of tailor-made for this DH spot on this All-MiLB team. So he's my pick there. But, yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see what happens with him going forward as he gets more accustomed to that Texas system.
I like it. Moving to the outfield next. I think you're up.
Yeah. So for the outfield, do we really need to say anything more about Ronald Acuna?
No, probably not.
No,
Ronald Acuna,
I mean,
super stud.
Super stud this year, climbed from Florida to Mississippi to Gwinnett, got better at every stop, yada, yada, yada. You're going to hear us talk more about him as the offseason goes on, as we get into awards territory, or we'll have our Milby special episode. We can talk about him more then. So come back for that, or if you've listened before, you probably already know this stuff anyways. He's my first pick. He was definitely on your list, right?
Absolutely. I mean, not my list of like people that I would leave in my last will and testament, like with you, I'm assuming, with your prospect crush.
Yes,
on Ronald. But he was definitely on my list.
My wishes after I pass. I mean, that's a safe pair of hands, at least, and it would happen quickly.
That's true.
And forcefully. So he's both of our first ones. Who's your second one?
So I went with Derek Fisher as my second one of the problem with the outfield. There are so many guys who are so deserving of being in that group. But Derek Fisher, similarly to Ryan McMahon, it just seemed like Derek Fisher every single night was doing something huge. Only played in 84 games at the AAA level with Fresno in the Houston system because he's played in 47 big league games, but a 318, 384, 583 slash line, 21 homers, 66 RBIs, stole 16 bases. He just seemed like a guy who was in the mix every single night for that Grizzlies team.
Yeah, he had one of the most well-rounded packages in the game this year, maybe outside of Acuna, which is fascinating to me because I would love to know how he's going to fit in that Astro system going forward. That outfield is so good and so packed right now, and Fisher looked like he was knocking down and obviously he's there. I mean, he's a good player, and he deserved as much major league playing time as he got this year. How they're going to handle him going forward is going to be really fascinating. Good problem to have for sure. But yeah, Derek Fisher was actually my third choice. My second choice was Austin Hayes, who led minor league baseball this year in total bases with 310, just beating out Christian Walker in that aspect. Hit 32 homers, 95 RBIs. Again, another guy who really jumped out this year, another breakout prospect. You know, he was the 91st overall pick last year. Somehow packed on a lot of power this year, more than any of us were certainly expecting out of him. Forced his way to Baltimore, which I thought was kind of a surprise. I feel like Baltimore's not exactly known for pushing their prospects that quickly, especially their hitting guys. But they did it with Hayes, and what that means for him going forward is going to be really interesting. But again, you know, for somebody to hit 32 home runs in 128 games in his first season, split between Class A Advanced Frederick and Double A Bowie, is fascinating. And again, to lead minor league baseball in total bases just speaks to how solid a year it was for him.
Well, he was my third, so.
Oh, well, okay. Derek Fisher was my third.
Man, look at the synergy we have here. This is impressive.
I'll just throw out also Jose Siri.
Yeah, definitely another one.
And I'm not saying that just because of the hitting streak, which was obviously spectacular and, you know, ended in dramatic fashion and all that at 39 games. But he was another guy who just seemed to really figure everything out. 293 average this year, 871 OPS. But he hit 24 homers and had 46 steals. Normally, that's killer. Like, you just get so excited. You know, we saw that with a couple of guys this year, 2020 guys, Scott Kingery being one of them, Fernando Tatis being another, Ronald Acuna being another one of those. So it seemed like there were a bunch of those guys this year. But under normal circumstances, I feel like Siri, you know, would pop a little bit more than he has. He might lose a couple points because this is his second straight year at Dayton, Class A Dayton. And last year did not go very well there. He hit 145 in 27 games and had to be bumped back down to Billings. But, you know, he's still 22 years old, just turned 22 in July. So this is technically his age 21 season. You know, he would, if he was American instead of Dominican, this would have been a junior year for him in college. So, you know, let this be a building block for him. Let him move forward. but he would have been my fourth outfielder. That's not exactly an all-MiLB team, how that
Just
works,
missed the
but
cut.
yeah, just missed the cut.
All right, we're going to go one starting pitcher, one relief pitcher. Full admission, we had the same starting pitcher, and double full admission, you'll hear from him coming up here in just a little bit. But in the interest of mixing things up, rather than Jon Duplantier, I went with Michael Kopech, the Chicago White Sox organization. Kind of needed a bounce back year, had been questioned on people's radar as far as character, attitude, makeup, all that kind of stuff. Everybody knew that the stuff was there, but what was Michael Kopech going to be like as a guy maturing? By all accounts, it seems like he's done great in that regard, and he was fantastic on the mound this year as well. 119 and a third innings pitched for AA Birmingham. He struck out 155, a sub-3 ERA, terrific season. A guy that I got a chance to talk to, I think back in July for a story, and was really impressed by just the kind of full attention that he had given to rounding out parts of his game nearing the upper minors. Really impressed me, and it seems like a guy who's got a very clear picture of who he wants to be as presumably a starter for AAA Charlotte next year and a major leaguer in pretty short order.
Yeah, Kopech was definitely kind of on the short list of guys I would consider. Also, Alec Hansen in that group, or in that organization rather, a guy who struck out 191 and 141 in the third innings. Just freaking astonishing. But Duplantier, who, by the way, we checked with that. That is how you say his name, which is awesome.
We did.
Duplantier is so fun to say. But the guy posted a 1.39 ERA. As anybody who knows my writing or listens to the podcast will tell you, I'm certainly not a slave to a traditional stat like ERA, but when his was so significantly lower than anybody else in the minors this year, and the fact that half of that came at the California League, the way he was able to dominate there was really astonishing. So the 1.39 ERA, 165 strikeouts in 136 innings, a whip below 1, which is always a good indicator, 0.98. Had some really solid control at 2.8 walks per 9. You'll hear us talk about that with him later. Could not be more impressed by the season he had. I think where other people kind of are allowed to come into the conversation, and it's not just a, discussion ender with him, is that, the fact that he was a college guy. He did start out at Class A this year. That's not exactly an aggressive assignment. I would have liked to see him start the year at Visalia and then move up to Jackson in the Southern League, just to see how that would test him. Obviously, wouldn't have expected an ERA under 2. So, there are some caveats going on there, but I can't blame him for the way he performed. I'm sure the D-backs are super pumped about the way he performed this year. And, the confidence you'll hear from him later probably could not have happened had he not started where he did and performed like he did.
Relief pitcher, which is, again, another one, kind of like the outfield. So many guys, good seasons. You can make an argument for a ton of guys. I went with Gabriel Moya, who is now a member of the Minnesota Twins organization, started things in the Arizona Diamondbacks system between Jackson and Chattanooga. He was traded in July. 47 appearances, 6-1 record, a 0.77 ERA. He struck out 87 and 58 and a third. September call up to Minnesota, now part of a playoff push for the Twins. Really impressive stuff out of the bullpen.
Mine was John Schreiber in the Tigers organization. This is a guy who posted a 0.54 ERA, struck out 70 batters and walked only 8 in 50 and a third innings, which is just crazy. And what I really like about him, too, is that he did not give up a home run in that entire span either. Certainly not a guy who would have been necessarily on our radar. He was a 15th round pick last year out of Northwestern Ohio. The fact that he started, all of this happened, by the way, at Class A West Michigan. So the fact that he was a Class A reliever, those guys can kind of get lost in the shuffle. But when he was out guys the way he was at the clip he was, again, 70 in 50 and a third innings, was certainly throwing in the strike zone, only 8 walks in that span. It's just kind of crazy video game-ish numbers. Similar kind of story. I wish, he's 23 years old. I wish they could have pushed him to Lakeland at some point. Would have loved to see what would happen with him after that. But, all the markers you would want out of a dominant reliever. 0.54 ERA, 0.66 WHIP, a 147 average against. I could keep going. And that's how you put yourself on a map as a reliever. You have to put up these zany numbers that make everybody pay attention and show that you are worthy of a spot in the higher levels, because starters, failed starters become relievers, and failed relievers become free agents, basically. So good first step for John Schreiber, and we'll be interested to see where he can take this from here.
So that's it. Our 2017 All-MiLB teams in this latest edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. Those are good squads.
Those are good squads.
We wouldn't be able to play against each other, though, because we share so many guys.
Yeah, well.
Our whole outfield would have to go.
That just blows up my idea of getting all these guys together on a field.
It was very possible.
Yeah.
We have that kind of pull, obviously.
I know, yeah. We could just call them out. Hey, can you be in Fort Myers on Thursday? And
we got a fun little thing going on. Just bring all of your equipment. So we're going to hear from one of those guys coming up next, which is some pretty good podcast work as well. Jon Duplantier, who had a fantastic season in 2 different levels in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, joins the show to look back on 2017 and a whole lot more coming up next. Headed into the offseason, we are headed down to Cactus League and spring training and AFL area, but for a different reason, where we are joined by the number 2 prospect in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, Jon Duplantier, who joins us after a breakout season in his second pro campaign between Class A Kane County and Class A Advanced Visalia in the California League. Jon, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's great to talk to you. So let's, right out of the gate, congratulations are in order. You are actually right now in Phoenix to accept your award as D-backs Minor League Pitcher of the Year. We're recording this actually on Tuesday. We ordinarily record on Wednesday, but I'm kind of glad that we're doing this one early because we get you in award mode. When did you get this news? How long have you been in Phoenix? You're going to go to the game tonight. The D-backs at home. You'll be honored at that game. What does that mean to you in this your first full pro season, and you already get a chance to be honored like this?
Right. So I guess it's been roughly 2 weeks now. Mike, our farm director, called me. I was at lunch with my mom, so he let me know so I could tell her the news. And it was just really cool. I was at lunch with my mom. We were just catching up, and I'd just gotten home from the season, and to get another award, she was super excited. She couldn't wait to tell my dad. And it's fun. The weather out here is nice. So we thought it was gonna be 100-some degrees, and we get out here. Right now it's 70s. So we're walking around in jeans and sweatpants and gonna go to the game tonight and be comfortable, So kind of just a bunch of blessings in one for these couple of days.
Well, and at this stage, you're still so early on in your career. Obviously, a 3rd-round pick in 2016, 89th overall. Last year limited because of your college workload. So you come out, your debut professional season, you put together a year like this, 136 innings, a combined ERA of 1.39 between 2 levels, a 12-3 record, 24 starts out of 25 total appearances. Coming into, let's say we go back, 6-7 months. We go back to March or to February. Coming into this season, your first full wire-to-wire year in the minor leagues, could you have dreamt of something this good? Obviously your standards are going to be high and you're going to expect a good year, but 12-3 record, 1.39 ERA, 165 strikeouts and 136 innings. This is dominant stuff. What would you, if you could talk to yourself from back before the season, what do you think your reaction would be to a campaign like this?
If I could have told myself something like this was going to happen, I probably would have told myself to shut up. Like, hey man, quit playing. I'm trying to stay focused. Don't do that. Yeah. I came to spring training. It's been my first spring training and first full season. I kind of just came in, wanted to put my nose to the grindstone and just kind of focus day to day. And really, it was like the biggest goal was to remain healthy and to get used to a 5-day rotation where I was going out there and making all starts. So, the performance was welcomed. Let's just say it wasn't necessarily a thought going into spring training like, man, I'm trying to kill it. It was just, let's prove to people we can stay healthy and just make starts and get used to the rotation and the schedule, and everything take care of itself. But yeah, the 139 that kind of came out of a lot of guys' plans, so that was cool.
And at what point this season did it feel like it could be a special season? I mean, you only gave up one hit in your first outing, 5 scoreless innings against Clinton on April 7th. You get promoted to Visalia, you get a trip to the Futures game, all these things that tell you it's a good season. But, at what point did it really feel special to you?
It felt, it's kind of hard to explain. It never really felt like, or I never really felt like, man, I'm doing something absurd right now. I'm doing something special in a lot of people's eyes right now. It just, to me, it was like I'm just going out and trying to do my job. I'm just trying to help the team I'm on at the time, help them win, prove some doubters wrong, and just, play baseball to the best of my ability, But when I came out, in college, I didn't have the best command in general. I just kind of was a thrower, and I had success doing it, but I wasn't really a pitcher necessarily in college. And I came out in spring training, and in my first couple outings, I was like, man, I'm not really walking anybody. I'm throwing the ball where I want to. I was like, this could be fun. This could this could get interesting. And so, kind of had that thought in the back of my head. I remember I was having conversations with my dad, and my dad and I, we kind of talk about it. I'm like, Dad, I'm throwing the fastball inside when I want to get in. I'm throwing it away when I want to be away. It's not just, hey, let's try and throw a strike here. So once that trend kind of held, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of a finesse pitcher right now. It was, things can get pretty cool.
And what allowed that switch to happen? It sounds like something just kind of flipped a switch, and you were just like, I can throw the ball where I want now. But what type of work had you done, in that first spring training for you, or in those first couple months that allowed that command to get so much better this year?
Well, one, body felt great. I very rarely was dealing with anything that was like, man, kind of achy today. Oh, man, I just don't feel great. So I wasn't really thinking about my body. So I was just repeating. I was able to repeat, and I didn't have to take any time off or not throw a certain day, or say, you know what, let me ease off a little bit. So I was able to just kind of go and just worry about the work I was putting in and focus on the work rather than focus on how to get back to feeling good, which, allowed me to kind of fine-tune things, repeat my delivery, stay on top of the ball, hand positioning, working on spin, and kind of developing a confidence in myself and a trust that, okay, I want to throw it there. Let's go there, and I can get there. Haven't always been like that. So once I had this confidence of, you know what, if he sets up there, I'm gonna get it there. Then it kind of just took off that way. But definitely just, I think the foundation for everything has just been health, feeling good, and knowing I'm feeling good, and that's lifted a burden off of my shoulders, my family's shoulders, I'm sure the D-back shoulders, and everybody's shoulders, so yeah.
Jon, take us back to the middle of June. You start things off 9 out of your first 10 outings, I think, with Kane County were scoreless starts. And then you get to the meat of the season and you make that jump. And the low A to high A jump is one of the tough ones. High A to double A is a really tough one too, which will be coming up in your future at some point. And to make that jump mid-season for guys in a debut professional season can be really tough as well. But you go out and you have success pretty much right out of the gate with Visalia. What was that experience like to make, not only your first jump, but your first in-season jump and deal with a lot more advanced hitters and still be able to go in and really be able to put together strong outings right from the jump in the California League?
Especially going to the California League where the ball is usually generally a hitter's league. It was a big confidence boost in terms of it was just a reinforcement, not even really a boost, a reinforcement. I got out there and my first outing, I went 2 2/3, walked 5. And so I was like, oh shoot, here we go. But then working with the pitching coach, talking to guys and talking to baseball guys in my life, I was like, man, you know what? They're like, just trust your stuff, go out there and you do what you do. And so I did. And working with Jeff Baginaro, pitching coach in Visalia, I just was able to learn a lot, I learned even more and kind of took it upon myself, and with the help of Badge, our pitching coach, Vihey, our hitting coach, and Shelly, our manager. It was just, they were willing to teach me when I wasn't pitching, and I just wanted to talk in the dugout or before games when I'm watching other teams VP or just any time I had a question, they were willing to answer it for me. And so that just kind of kept me feeling like I had an edge, and just that kept the train rolling for me. And so I was just happy to get that first midseason jump and to keep rolling, because I think that spoke volumes to a lot of people.
You mentioned some of the guys, members of that staff that you get a chance to work with and bounce stuff off of. And when you look at your overall season numbers, not a whole lot of adversity stands out. But obviously, guys are going to go through stuff, especially in a first full season, that, you really got to figure out, all right, well, why did this happen? Why do hitters approach this like this? What am I doing wrong in this given circumstance? What was something that you had to tackle and learn from and try to get better from? Like I said, the numbers don't really show any situation in which you struggle, but I'm sure there was something that you thought, like, all right, this is a new wrinkle. This is something I got to conquer. What was that?
Yeah, it was throwing my off speed for strikes more. It was throwing my off speed strikes. So historically, or back in college, I was a spike curveball guy at Rice, and when I threw that pitch, actually until the second half of this year. So when I got promoted to Visalia, I've never tried to throw a spike curveball for a strike. I never tried to throw a curveball for a strike. It was always I tried to back tip it, back point it in the dirt, swing and miss, and just throw it hard, But I noticed even in low A, guys started to take it. They would take it and hit it in pitcher counts when I was way ahead and kind of work their way back. And so I had to learn how to, 0-0, 0-1. Maybe even 2-2, flip a curveball in there, especially to a lefty, freeze them, get a cheap strike. Slider, back foot to lefties. It was something that I need to work on. And then just overall changeups, consistency down. So I guess in all, it's kind of just all my off-speed offerings, throwing them for strikes, throwing them in counts where I can steal a strike from a hitter, like a 2-0 changeup to a lefty, or that 2-2, or like a 2-1 or 0-0 curveball. So, it was kind of like learning to pitch with something other than a fastball.
And I kind of want to get back to something you mentioned earlier about, knowing that you were healthy this year. There's a couple of things we should bring up. You had a shoulder injury in college. You had a little bit of an elbow issue last year that didn't allow you to pitch much in your first season in the D-back system. How did you kind of prepare health-wise last offseason, and then, just body maintenance, that kind of thing all season long to keep, not only pitching well, but pitching deep into the season and seeing the season out, throwing 137 innings like you did?
Yeah, so I work out at a gym in the off season, Fairchild Sports Performance in Houston, and they that's actually who I credit to helping me get healthy after the shoulder injury in college. And they're big on education. So when you're going through workouts, or say it's more of a rehab thing like it was when I first started there, they teach you as you're doing it. So, I was a kinesiology major at Rice, and so I kind of had a minor background. I took anatomy, I took physiology, so I kind of have a general understanding about how the body works. But then the trainers at this gym, they're teaching you they're teaching it while you're going through it, so you know why you're doing certain things, and that was big for me because in order for me to stay healthy, there's certain muscles, certain movements that my body's going to have to continue to make over the course of a long season. And if I stop being able to do those movements, or those muscles stop working, that's when injury comes. So just the overall education over an off season, while putting in the work, the vigorous work that we're doing, it's just, it all complements each other. A lot of the stuff that I'm doing in the off season carries into the season for me. With arm care, which the D-backs, I feel like they've done a great job with me. I have no complaints. I actually love the arm care and the stuff we do after we throw. So it's all been working for me, and we're going to keep that train rolling, hopefully.
And I just want to go to one other thing I think you said earlier was, coming into the year, you wanted to prove the haters wrong. Where exactly were you feeling that pressure from or seeing that coming from? And, what were you trying to prove wrong about what you had seen or heard coming into the year?
It wasn't anything necessarily, I guess, personal towards me. But I mean, guys, when we come from college, we're proud of where we come from. I'm proud to be a Rice Owl, and to hear, I mean, whatever your stance is on Rice pitchers in pro ball and the history we have, I made it a personal goal of mine to kind of alleviate that, it gets old hearing that. And so, I wanted to prove that, listen, I can stay healthy. I can stay healthy and I can pitch and we're gonna make it. And hopefully the blue and white can get a little bit off their, some people off their backs, because it's stressful while you're there. You kind of hear it, and it may not take a toll directly, but the stress of hearing that and the stress of hard classes, hard education. You don't really know how that affects a college athlete. So, I want to prove that Rice pitchers can stay healthy. I want to prove that I can stay healthy just because of my injury history. And, I want to treat the D-backs right and pitch for them because they give me this opportunity.
Well, and that leads into another topic that I noticed. Obviously, getting a chance to talk to you, it's obvious what a cerebral guy you are, a kinesiology major, taking all these classes that are a really hefty workload in college. And one of the notes on your bio page at riceowls.com is that you picked Rice over Yale for your college ball. And so many guys, go with the notion of, I want to obviously get my education, but this is a road for me into pro ball, whatever. It's pretty plain and evident that the education thing is a big component of what you were able to do at Rice and what you would have been able to do at Yale had you gone that route. How difficult was that to juggle that, though, going to a place where that academic workload is going to be so tough in addition to playing in a really competitive, really good program? What was it like being able to juggle that as a college athlete?
My freshman year was rough, really rough. Every now and then you have athletes that come in and they do really well, but freshman year is tough. You learn how to, it's that cliche that they always say, you have to be able to manage your time and time management, and make sure you block out time to study and do your sports. And it was hard. I think my first full season, my GPA dropped down to 2.9 maybe, and then that kind of, my parents were about to whoop me. They wanted to, they were all over. And but then you kind of start to slowly figure things out, just like you do in anything when you do it enough, and you start to figure out, okay, no, I can't go play ball at the rec. I really have to study. If I can get some good studying today in between classes instead of going and just hanging out in the locker room, if I go to the library or to the athletic center where we have study hall, if I can get this work in now, then I can hang out later. So you kind of just learn to take your losses in the study battle when you can, and they do a really good job. I feel like Rice does a pretty good job of providing the tools and the assistance needed for athletes there. If I ever needed advice, I could go to her name is Julie, our academic advisor, and she would give the advice she could. So you never felt like you were drowning, but you definitely were doggy paddling for your life above water.
And some people will hear, oh man, 2.9 GPA at Rice, like that's nothing. I'd be fine with that. John in high school had a 4.32 GPA on the 4 scale. So I think when you go like 30% over the top possible mark you can get. Fairly good academic record. John, we're jumping around a little bit, but let's go back again over the summer. You get a chance to go to the Futures game and take a part in a historic, every year it's a historic event because, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, we're going to see so many of those dudes making big impacts in the major leagues. We already have with some of the guys who were in that game. But that experience is so unique and so powerful for the guys who get to be a part of it. For you being on that pitching staff is one thing, but to be on that roster as a whole with so many guys who, Rhys Hoskins was the cleanup hitter in that game for the U.S. lineup. He's off setting rookie marks all over the place now, his first month plus in the big leagues. Take us through that experience and what that was like to be a part of that.
It was one of the coolest things in my life, baseball-wise for sure. That's something that not a lot of people get to experience, and it's hard to put in words because, everybody kind of asks, like, how was it? And the only thing you can say is, dude, it was amazing. You're sitting there for a couple days, and you're treated like a big leaguer. You're treated like a big leaguer, and you're sitting there, and everybody on the team is a stud. You're hanging out with studs all day, and guys who are about to make a big league impact, who maybe already got called up. So it's just a lot of stories, a lot of camaraderie. I still keep in touch with a couple guys from the team, from the USA team and the world team. So, it was just an experience that really you can't just draw that up without getting experience.
All right, and we'll leave you on this one. Flash forward to January. It's cold. Baseball season is a little bit away, but this season's also a little bit behind you, preparing for 2018. How are you going to look back on this year and kind of remember it by? Like, what's the one moment or one thing you're going to take away from this year and kind of hope it sets you up as a foundation for, hopefully a long career to follow?
Probably the overall consistency I had, and not necessarily with the lower ERA, the low ERA or the amount of hits or anything like that. It's mainly for the majority of the year, I was confident in myself. I felt I was healthy. My body felt really good, especially at the end of the season. My body felt better than it did when I was leaving spring training, and just like over the whole year, how I was able to get better, and I was able to learn and develop, so the consistency of just, I don't know the one word that can describe it all, but the consistency that I was confident in my performance, just something along those lines, and that feeling that I had about it, I would just think, okay, if I can feel like this and I can kind of remain as close to that as possible, and I can remain consistent like that and keep throwing the ball I want and keep my body feeling good, the good things are going to happen down the road. So next season it'd be really easy for me to go in and try to recreate the numbers I had, the ERA and just everything, the whip, whatever it is. But that I got to make sure that's not my goal, and just kind of like the feeling that I had. So as long as I can keep that feeling, good stuff will happen.
He is Jon Duplantier, the number 2 ranked prospect in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, according to MLB Pipeline. And you can find John on Twitter at @DUP_. There it is. If you are looking for an indication of how John's D-backs organization teammates feel about his 2017, Sam McWilliams, a teammate with Class A Kane County, tweeted last week, quote, 2017 offseason plan, call @Dupe, there it is, every day and do what he's doing. So that's pretty good. Seems like a smart idea. John, this has been fantastic, man. Congratulations on a heck of a breakout year. Enjoy every minute of tonight in Phoenix, getting honored for your work, and best of luck. We'll be talking to you down the road.
All right, thank you.
Well, big thanks again to Jon Duplantier, and with that, we are headed to Greenville, South Carolina, in the home of the 2017 Minor League Baseball Promo Seminar. That is where we find Benjamin Hill in an inward-facing hotel room. Hi, Ben.
And in an inward-facing mood. very reflective and introspective.
Good. That's good. That's a good time to catch you for an interview on the podcast. Well, tell us about the 2017 promo seminar. We kind of covered the basics of what the promo seminar is last week, but what has this year's been like for you?
Well, I think I've said this before, but, these events follow formulas for sure. So if you've been to other seminars, which I imagine most listeners of the podcast haven't, you're certainly familiar with the routine. But, the seminar takes place. Most people got into town last night, and then 3 full days, today being Tuesday, and then Wednesday and Thursday, and then travel home Friday. So it's basically a work week long event, more or less. And, it takes place this time of year because, the season has just ended. The last minor league game was September 19th with the AAA National Championship. And then a week later, people are here for the promo seminar. And that's purposeful. When the season's still fresh, it's an opportunity to get together and share ideas, as people haven't really started planning for next year, but, they're going to very soon. And the planning starts now with this idea sharing at the promo seminar. And this year's event is in Greenville, South Carolina, home of the Drive. So it's a very beautiful city. People have a lot of good things to say about Greenville, South Carolina. And I suppose I do too.
So what have you learned so far on the first day? Like what has happened on this first day in terms of people putting together presentations and stuff like that? That's I know you have your own, on Thursday?
Yeah, my presentation is on Thursday, where I kind of go through my road trips and make jokes and, try to make people laugh and everything, as well as educate them. But, today starts with a volunteer project. That's what the promo seminar usually starts with, partnering with a local organization. This year we partnered with the Friends of the Reedy River. And the Reedy River, runs in South Carolina, in Greenville, obviously, and right through the city in a lot of ways. And the Greenville Drive's mascot is named Reedy Rippet, and he's a frog. So the Reedy River, big part of Greenville. So we went to the banks of the Reedy River and cleaned up a lot of debris and trash, and then planted plants along the side of it. And it was hot and quite a lot of physical labor, but it was kind of fun to wait. Well, it was not fun to get up early in the morning, but it was fun to do some physical labor early in the day and work up a good sweat before the presentation style stuff started. And then, we gathered in a ballroom and a bunch of people gave different presentations, on different types of things, dealing with social media. Most of the people who talk are, front office members of teams. Eric Jarinko, who's the GM of the Drive, that's the host team. He kicked off with a presentation really about, the various successful things that the Drive do. And then later in the afternoon, you break into group therapy sessions and you can choose the track you want to attend, whether it's, media relations and community relations or promos or operations, and have more of a informal idea sharing environment. So I just got back from one of those about, using your marketing dollars effectively and how to pinpoint, free advertising or cheap advertising, that kind of thing. So, there's the term inside baseball, meaning things that happen that are only germane to a certain insider audience, really. And this is literally inside baseball for minor league baseball when it comes to, how the sausage gets made, how the product gets put together, sharing the ideas that work, the ones that don't work. And, coming back from this event and starting October with planning the 2018 season, because as you guys know, it takes a long time to get a minor league season together with the promo calendar and the sponsorship and all the things you have to do. It's a common question for anyone who works in baseball. What do you do in the off season? But there's a lot to get done for everyone, and especially if you work in a minor league front office.
Ben, you've been to a bunch of these, and you have seen the way that teams have evolved and taken ideas from the promo seminar and implemented them and all that kind of stuff. And over the course of those years, connections get formed between different front offices, different people, different promotions, directors, and all that type of stuff. What's it like watching, you come back for the 2017 promo seminar and you see a lot of the same people that you've seen in seasons past, watching how everybody has kind of grown over the course of these. What's that been like for you?
Well, on one hand, it's great to be in a room with people who know my work well and appreciate it because, the season ends and, I live in New York City and no one really knows or cares about what I do on a day-to-day level as I go about my life. And that's fine. I don't expect that. But it's very nice personally to be around people who connect with what I do and understand it and who I've visited and to, make those connections. And if you work in minor league baseball, there's, as you guys know, there's a lot of movement, almost like the players, as you're trying to build a career. It's a tough industry to make a go in. And if you're really committed, you'll probably change locations throughout the first couple years of your career as you try to get promotions and try to find the best fits. So, the promo seminar and the winter meetings really do function as the only two times when everyone can really get together and see former coworkers, hang out with, of course, current coworkers in a different combination, meet new people, see, their colleagues from the league, X, Y, and Z. And that is important because obviously everyone during the season is comparatively far flung, as well as in most cases, supremely busy.
And do you feel like there's any type of specific buzz or like buzzwords that are going around that have been different about this promo seminar, on the ground? I know it's only been one day, but any, themes that you can kind of put together out of what's going on there on the ground so far?
If we were talking at the end of the week, I might have a good answer for that. Right now, after day 1 of 3, a lot of stuff has been talked about already, but not anything enough to congeal into a theme in terms of recognizing specific marketing tactics, theme nights, or just general trends in the industry, or just general feelings about how the season went. No themes have developed yet, but I will be on the lookout for themes and ready to talk about themes if and when they emerge.
I feel like that's like a promo of what's to come. Then that's just kind of like follow Ben for what the theme will be at the end of the week. I want a 1-word theme by the end of the week. I guess that's what I'm saying, Ben.
All right, it's Sam. If you're asking for it, then that's what will be delivered because you don't ask for much, and I respect your request. So you're going to get that.
There we go.
Benjamin Hill, you can find him on Twitter. He is at Ben's Biz. You can also find the Promo Seminar on Twitter as well. That is at Promo Seminar, and you can follow all the latest developments from the Hyatt Greenville, or is it the Greenville Hyatt?
I don't know.
Not that that's
one
or the other.
That would tear apart baseball Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Greenville. This is how we break things down in baseball Twitter. But Ben's down there. He'll be down there this week, and you can follow along with the 2017 promo seminar. And then in 2018, you can reap all the rewards from the 2017 promo seminar as a fan who gets to enjoy all the stuff concocted in that crazy laboratory. Ben, we'll recap it next week, man. Thanks. Enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks. Looking forward to talking about it. And there is a promo seminar hashtag if you're really into this industry stuff, MILBPS. And also check out hashtag Twitterless Danny Wild. As Danny Wild, a good friend and coworker of mine, jack of all trades, is here as the official on-site photographer. So I'm trying to encourage people to take photos of Danny Wild in the wild when he's taking photos of other people. Check out hashtag Twitterless Danny Wild. And thank you guys very much.
Big thanks to Jon Duplantier. Big thanks to Benjamin Hill. And our thanks to you for tuning in. We got no MILB.TV to preview. We next week, we'll get a chance to take a look at our 2017 MiLB Award contenders, but we don't really have anything else.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be plenty. I mean, there are so many categories every year that we can always break down. I think that's the year we joke. Maybe this is the year we actually do it, that we'll wear like tails and do like a real award presentation ceremony.
You've been joking this whole time? I do it.
Oh, I just said that for your protection.
Okay.
I thought you were not wearing the.
No. I bought a late 19th century tuxedo and a top hat, and I wear it all the time.
Oh, see, my suit is just made out of MiLB logos.
Oh, that's even cool.
It's the MiLB print tux.
Yeah, I like it. So, sublimated. As we know, the specialty jerseys can be. All right. He's Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Mom. We'll talk to you guys next week.